Twins with identical lives. A disturbing mystery. Meet Jonathan and Michael Harrow. Born minutes apart in a small town in Pennsylvania, the Harrow twins shared more than just DNA. As children, they dressed alike, spoke in unison, and often finished each other's sentences. Their parents chalked it up to the special connection that twins have. But even as they grew older, their similarities remained unervingly perfect. At school, they chose the same classes without consulting each other. They both excelled in mathematics and literature. At 16, they both suffered identical injuries in separate incidents. Jonathan broke his left wrist in a skateboarding accident, while Michael broke his left wrist in a fall on the same day, at the same time 3 miles away. Their friends joked about how they were the mirror image twins. But deep down, people began to feel uneasy around them. It wasn't just that they looked alike. It was as if they were the same person, duplicated into 2 bodies. As they entered adulthood, their lives took on an even more bizarre symmetry. They attended different universities, but both majored in forensic psychology. They both met women named Emily, and they both got engaged on the exact same day at the exact same time without knowing the other had proposed. But here's where things take a truly chilling turn. Jonathan and Michael both had near-death experiences at the age of 29. Jonathan was in a car accident that left him clinically dead for 2 minutes before being revived. Michael, on the very same night, was attacked by an intruder in his apartment and stabbed in the heart. He, too, was pronounced dead for exactly 2 minutes before emergency responders brought him back. When they recovered, they both described the same vision. A dark tunnel, a shadowy figure standing at the end, whispering something they couldn't understand. It seemed as though the universe or something else was playing a game with them. And the game wasn't over yet. At age 34, Jonathan was found dead in his apartment. Cause of death? A heart attack. No prior health conditions. No explanation. Michael, upon hearing the news, collapsed on the spot. He was rushed to the hospital, where doctors determined he had suffered a sudden heart attack. He died the next morning, less than 24 hours after his twin. Doctors dismissed it as a tragic coincidence. Some say it was broken heart syndrome, a rare condition where extreme emotional distress can physically damage the heart. But others aren't convinced. What about the eerie synchronicities? The injuries, the engagements, the near-death experiences, and their identical demises. Was it something supernatural? A force beyond human understanding keeping them in balance? Or was it something even more unsettling? Some theorists suggest they weren't 2 separate people at all, that they were, in some way, the same entity split in half, destined to live parallel lives until the universe corrected itself. And what about the vision they both saw during their near-death experiences? Who was the shadowy figure, and what did it whisper to them? We may never know. But one thing is certain. Jonathan and Michael Harrow weren't just twins. They were something else entirely. Coincidence? Fate? Or something much darker? The Edgar Allan Poe time travel coincidence. In 1838, Edgar Allan Poe published the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, his only full-length novel. A bizarre and horrifying tale of shipwreck, mutiny, and survival at sea. But one particular chapter holds a disturbing prophecy. In the novel, for shipwreck survivors, starving and desperate, make a grim decision. They must resort to cannibalism. They draw straws to determine who will be sacrificed for the survival of the others. The unlucky man? A young sailor named Richard Parker. 46 years later, in 1884, a real-life shipwreck occurred. A small yacht named the Mignonette was lost at sea. Just like in Poe's novel, for survivors found themselves adrift, with no food, no hope, and one horrifying choice. They drew straws, and the one who was chosen to die a young cabin boy. His name was Richard Parker, a fictional name written nearly half a century before, and yet an exact parallel to a real event that had not yet occurred. Coincidence? Or something more sinister? Some believe this is nothing more than a strange accident, a bizarre case of life imitating art. But others have suggested a more chilling theory. Could Edgar Allan Poe have seen the future? Was he a time traveler, glimpsing into a horrifying event yet to unfold? Or was he the recipient of knowledge from beyond? Many of Poe's works seem to contain eerie foreshadowing. In Eureka, he described a cosmic theory resembling the Big Bang, decades before scientists even considered it. In his short story, The Businessman, he eerily predicted the rise of white-collar crime. And in his own mysterious death, there lies another puzzle. On October 3, 1849, Edgar Allan Poe was found delirious on the streets of Baltimore. He was wearing clothes that did not belong to him, muttering incoherently, as if he had seen something beyond human comprehension. He died just days later, his cause of death unknown. His final words? "Lord, help my poor soul." To this day, his medical records are missing. His death remains a mystery, and some claim it was the final chapter of a man who was never meant to be in our time to begin with. Was Edgar Allan Poe just a gifted writer, a master of fiction, or was he something else? A traveler lost in time? A prophet burdened with knowledge no man should possess? What do you think? Coincidence? Or something far more terrifying? Comment below and let the mystery unfold. The mysterious monk assassination connection. A secret society hidden in the shadows, ancient monks guarding dark knowledge, and a series of assassinations that defy logic. Welcome to the enigma of the mysterious monk assassination connection. The year was 1578. A reclusive monk named Brother Gregor vanished from a monastery in the French countryside. Days later, his body was found in a nearby forest, throat slit with surgical precision. His fellow monks whispered of a warning he had received, an ominous message carved into the wood of his quarters. The truth must sleep. But what truth did he uncover? And who wanted him silenced? Fast forward 3 centuries. Monks from different religious orders, Dominicans, Benedictines, Franciscans, all meeting untimely and brutal ends. The assassinations shared unsettling similarities. Precise incisions, bodies posed as if in prayer, and cryptic symbols left at the crime scenes. In 1923, Father Alvaro in Spain was found in his study, hands folded across his chest, a single Latin phrase burned into the wooden floor beneath him. Lux tenebris, light from darkness. Was it a warning or a confession? In the 1970s, a Vatican archivist uncovered a hidden document, one that should not have existed. It was a collection of case files, spanning 500 years, detailing the deaths of monks who had strayed too close to forbidden knowledge. The document referred to them as Custodes Obscuri, the Dark Guardians. Who were these monks protecting, and what secrets were they willing to die for? Today, whispers persist of an order still operating in secrecy. Some believe they guard lost scriptures that could rewrite religious history. Others say they are gatekeepers to a knowledge so dangerous, so powerful, that it must never reach human hands. One thing is certain, those who have sought to expose this mystery have vanished. Just last year, an independent researcher investigating the Custodes Obscuri was found dead in his London apartment. The official cause? Suicide. But his last email read simply, "They are watching." Is this merely coincidence? Or have we uncovered the edges of a dark, centuries-old conspiracy? Perhaps some truths are not meant to be known, and some secrets are worth killing for. The Titanic Prediction. April 15, 1912. The world awakens to a nightmare. The RMS Titanic, pride of the White Star Line, the largest and most luxurious ship of its time, has met a tragic fate. Over 1,500 souls lost in the freezing Atlantic waters. It was called unsinkable. It was called a marvel of engineering. But it would forever be remembered for its doom. But what if I told you that this disaster was foretold? Not in a dream, not in a vision, but in ink and paper, 14 years before Titanic was ever built. In 1898, an obscure author named Morgan Robertson published a novel titled Futility, or The Wreck of the Titan. It told the tale of a massive ocean liner named Titan, a ship hailed as unsinkable, a ship that carried the elite of society, a ship that, on a cold April night, struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank, taking nearly everyone on board with it. At first, this might sound like coincidence, a tragic fluke, but the similarities between the real-life Titanic and the fictional Titan are unsettling. Both ships were described as unsinkable. Both struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic. Both sank in April. Both carried too few lifeboats for their passengers. Both were among the largest ships of their time. And here's the detail that will send shivers down your spine. The Titan, the fictional ship, was 800 feet long. The real Titanic, 882. A difference of just 82 feet. The Titan traveled at 25 knots. The Titanic, 22.5. The Titan carried 2,500 passengers. The Titanic, over 2,200. The numbers are eerily close, almost too close. But who was Morgan Robertson, and how did he write about a disaster before it happened? A gifted writer? A lucky guesser? Or something more? Some say Robertson had an unnatural ability to foresee the future. He also wrote about war, espionage, and submarines with pinpoint accuracy, long before they became reality. Did he possess a sixth sense? Did he see something in his dreams? Or was he merely tapping into something we don't yet understand? Skeptics argue that Titanic's fate was a result of predictable human arrogance, that any large ocean liner at the time would have faced the same risks. But others believe that some events are inevitable, as if history is written long before it plays out, as if time itself leaves warnings, breadcrumbs in the form of stories and visions, warnings that we fail to see until it's too late. So what do you believe? Was Morgan Robertson's Titan just a work of fiction? A lucky guess? Or was it something else? Something beyond explanation? The Reincarnated Reunited Brothers. A Forest, 1897. Two brothers, Thomas and Edward Blackwood, run through the trees, their laughter echoing in the cold air. But something is wrong. Thomas and Edward Blackwood were inseparable, bound by blood, by fate, and by something far darker. The boys pause. Edward turns to Thomas, his expression solemn. "Edward, you hear it too, don't you?" Thomas nods. A sound, a whisper, drifts from the trees, calling them. A tragedy lost to time, but some fates refuse to be buried. 1942. A hospital. Two babies are born miles apart, minutes apart. Their names? Thomas and Edward. Again, their parents, strangers to each other. Born anew, bound again. Fate does not forget its own. As the years pass, the boys grow, strangers unaware of their connection, until the nightmares begin. Flashes of cold water, a distant whisper, the feeling of being watched. 1960. A chance meeting at a boarding school. Thomas and Edward lock eyes across a crowded hall. A shiver runs down their spines. "Edward, do I know you?" Memories clawing at the veil of time. Their friendship grows too quickly, too intensely. They finish each other's thoughts. They know things they shouldn't. The whispers grow louder. Presence looms. One night, deep in the library's archives, they find it. A newspaper article. Tragic drowning of Blackwood Brothers, 1897. Thomas, that's us. Recognition, terror, truth. The whispers turn to voices. The shadows move. The past does not stay buried. The memories flood back. Betrayal, murder, cold hands dragging them under. Present. Thomas and Edward gasp awake. The room suffocating. The candles flickering wildly. Some things are not meant to be remembered. Some souls should never reunite. And now, it's watching you too. If you want more stories that defy explanation, subscribe and turn on notifications. But be warned, some mysteries are best left undisturbed.